You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We got more new callers, man. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to ramp this freaking thing up. Let's go. Best off season ever. All right. First new caller, what's up?
Hey, buddy, it's Bruce. How are you, man?
Oh,
I'm a little bit more calm now.
Freaking Bruce with a new number. All right, that's fine. We got another new caller after this, so it doesn't even matter. I don't even care.
No. But I wanted to ask you, man, I can't even, what a terrible week, man. It's been a terrible week, bro. I think the biggest thing I want to think about right now, and I want you to kind of either back it up or disprove, there's like this tangible thing with the Packers that we can't put our finger on, that we need to somewhat define to figure out what the hell is going on with the team. I'm blaming Matt LaFleur and whatever. It doesn't matter. There's something off. Whether we keep LaFleur, we don't, all that stuff. It's just, there's this non-tangible thing. And the first thing that kind of popped in my head in terms of Matt LaFleur is he just a great play designer and a really bad play caller, if that makes sense, situationally? Am I wrong with that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Walk me through that and what you would think with that same thing, play calling versus play design, and him kind of giving up play calling duties to become a head coach and maybe work with some other offensive coordinator that can kind of meld minds to create this thing. Is he willing to do that? Is he not? Like that piece of it is something I think about. Obviously, coordinators, whatever. I mean, they always hire people we have no clue about, and we do have clues about, and Versace has to go. But I don't know. They're not going to throw a lot of money at something else again. But a little bit of an overhaul with that piece of it. And if you think about just the timeline of this, look, the Packers are a business, not an owner-based team. So guys need to retire. And maybe that's part of it too, right? We need a new blood with policy who's going to put the stamp on this thing. Ted Thompson, he won his Super Bowl and then he retired. And then you had the same thing happen with Davis, and towards the end of their legacy, they won their Super Bowl just like a player. They're just adding to their legacy. So he built Titletown and he did that. So you need that new, young, fresh blood in there into a corporation to change that culture. So that's just what I'm thinking, man. What are your thoughts? Just curious, but that's been running through my head outside of painting my nails because my team let me down. Bears fans are terrible. Bears still suck. Bye.
I mean, I can't try not to redirect your question into my own personal thoughts here. I can't get past the collapse effort issue. I don't personally, it's such a hard question to answer. I don't personally think he's a bad play caller or designer. I know some people have a lot of critiques about certain things here and there with whatever, but I also think the offense performs at a high level. And again, even that's why the Bears game is such a perfect encapsulation of the issue, because you look at the first half and you see what this team is and can be. And I guess the second half could go to your point too, as far as the play call, but we'd have to be able to demonstrate what was wrong with the play calling. And I know Beer Cheese is mad about the deep passing or something, but I feel like people always say that, and I don't think it ever is what we determined that it was. I'd need to see some numbers and whatnot. And again, the inability to run, I don't think was a play calling issue. You know what I mean? Maybe there were some other calls that he could have made that that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know what's in his playbook. And even if I did, I wouldn't know what the right call was to counter what they're doing. Like, how do you run against what they're doing? As far as I know, you can't, but maybe you can. I don't know. No idea. I'm willing to bet by the fact that our offensive linemen are laying face down on the ground that there's not a lot we could do in that situation. So, again, I'm just stuck primarily on that issue, and obviously, Matt isn't the guy that can get that out of our guys, and so the question is there somebody that isn't a head coach that can do it? Can we have some kind of a player-led thing? And if so, who inspires that? Can Matt get? I mean, again, Matt can't get it out of the guys. Can a coach or somebody else be there to inject that? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to see a path where we keep Matt and fix that issue that has been a lingering issue that clearly Matt is not that guy. I like Matt. I like his offense. I like all that stuff. And I don't think he's like a bad guy. It's not like there's a mutiny in the locker room. I think the guys love him, which is great. But there's a difference between that and being willing to die for a guy. You know what I mean? Like, my favorite bosses are the ones that are bad at their job because they leave me alone and they don't care if I'm bad at my job. You know what I mean? Those are great bosses. The worst bosses are the ones that micromanage and are in your frickin' face 24/7. But guess what? The productivity of my work goes up when that happens because I can't slack. Because he's going to be on me if he walks in and sees YouTube up on my screen. You know what I'm talking about? So guess what? I'm not going to be on YouTube very much. I'm not even going to be at my desk very much because they're going to be talking like, oh, what are you doing? Like, what are you working on? What do you got going on? Like, don't you have something? Can you do me a favor and head out there and go get these things done that we talked about? Yeah, dude, freaking whatever. I'm on it, bro. And then you've got kind of the actually like the peak bosses. And I've had like one in my life, and it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain other than, first of all, friends to this day, friends with his family, and I would work because I didn't want to let him down, and I knew how stressful the job was for him, and I worked hard because people are on him all the time, and I wouldn't slack because that would be taking from his business, and I wouldn't do that to him. So, I mean, the fact that I've come down on this side, it's I feel bad for Matt because I feel like he's not really doing anything wrong. It's just that he doesn't have this sort of characteristic that only some people have, this sort of leadership gene that has people going out there willing to fight and die for you, And again, it's, well, how can you say that? Because I'm watching the games, man. They're just not doing it. And, and maybe he can do it. Maybe it's just a matter of okay, that was a problem. And so we're going to emphasize that and we're going to talk and, we're going to sit down and I'm going to show the video of Jordan Love getting his head pushed. And I'm going to say, don't you ever effing let that happen again. I'm all about discipline and everything else. But I'll tell you what, you better get penalized for going and ripping somebody's head off after they do something like that, Maybe. I don't know. I don't freaking know, man. But somebody's got to have an answer. Because the whole, the Matt LaFleur special of, well, if I knew, then we wouldn't be having this problem kind of answer is not good enough. I'm not even going to say anymore because it was never good enough. But somebody has to answer that question for me. And I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Hi, this is my first time calling in. My name is Liz.
Hey, Liz.
I'm in upstate New York. Been a Packer fan for over 30 years, and I just want to tell you, dust is still settling. I'm still trying to get over everything that's happened, but I wake up in the morning and on my way to work. First thing I do is put on your podcast. So I just want to tell you, especially in the off season and times like this, I know it's hard to put out content and to be positive. So I just want to tell you I appreciate that, and you're one of the things I look forward to on my way to work, and it's not easy to look forward to anything going to work. So, thank you for that, and I'll be trying to call in more to participate in some of the call-in options that you have for us that are listening. But I want to tell you, you're all the way up in upstate farm country, way up in New York State. So thank you very much for what you do. Go Pack Go.
Well, thank you. That really does mean a lot to me. And it is a weird, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so you kind of get in like this ho-hum, like, yeah, for sure. Like, obviously, there's a lot of people, a lot of this, a lot of that. It's nice to once in a while kind of stop and be like, did you hear what she said? There's a lady on her way to work up in upstate New York that is like, all right, got my coffee, got almost freaking tired and stupid freaking job, idiot people, everything. Grabs her phone, flips through it, like, where's that podcast? Turns on your podcast is just you talking about stupid stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just another way of saying, like, where is Ryan? There he is. All right, go talk. That's freaking crazy. Like, I'm looking at this. We have 60 more calls to get through. 60 calls for this show. You guys are awesome. You know that? You guys are awesome. But I appreciate you, and I will do everything I can to honor what I said. And I'm so happy to hear, first of all, again, not one person has reached out saying, I can't do it this year. I'm checking out. I'll be back later, maybe for the draft, probably not until next year. None of those, and I've had a bunch of people reach out and say, I'm going to hang in there. And again, I appreciate, like, Beer Cheese, I think it was, calling in and being like, look, I wasn't a believer, I didn't do the draft, and then you told me to do it, and I was like, fine, I'll freaking do the stupid thing, and it was awesome. I got people reaching out saying they're signing up for Patreon, which is weird because the season just ended, so that puts some pressure on, like, you better deliver, because they're signing up. But you guys have been awesome. This not an easy time for anyone after a playoff loss, but it's been a very cool thing so far where it's like, yeah, everybody's pretty pissed and everybody's kind of over it, but not over it in a way of like, I'm done with football and I'm leaving, just over it in a way of like, I'm going to call up and tell them how pissed I am and how much I want things to change, and then I'm not leaving. It's like, you're freaking awesome. You know that? So far, zero dip in the numbers. In fact, we're having very good numbers, which is fantastic. I expect that to continue. Very, very excited about everything. Might have some slight panic attacks when we run out of content, but that shouldn't happen anytime super soon. I mean, we got like Senior Bowl stuff coming up. I keep forgetting, like, that stuff happens soon. I think it's like usually end of January stuff, and then like into February. I think there's like Shrine or something like that. That's how it was last year. Those are big, like, NFL draft events. You got college people going through things. Green Bay Packers are going to be in attendance. I just saw something just now, which I'm kind of excited about if I'm understanding it right. Let me just look at this real quick because I want it to be true. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, that's just Aaron Egler's going through some Senior Bowl stuff. He's already had it. I got to get on this stuff, man. Already putting out draft content. I'm a failure. Already got me thinking about starting a separate NFL draft show, but I don't know. I'm probably getting ahead of myself. Anyways, I appreciate you, and I do hope you end up calling back in. Let's take a break here. We'll come back, and we got Nate on the other side.
Hey, man, it's Nate. Just calling in the day after the game because you said you weren't going to play the calls during the game. I did call like a little bit after halftime. I think it was after the second or third 3-and-out. And I said that when we're playing this call, we were probably going to find out that we lost the game because I felt it.
Yeah.
I felt it. Anybody who's watched this team long enough and who is a actual realistic person and not one of the sunshine and rainbows, window licking, crayon eating.
To be fair, that's a little harsh for people that saw us up by like 100 and thought, I think we're going to win. But I get what you're saying.
Motherfuckers who constantly get my fucking hopes up and make me go through even more pain because they're such sweet summer children that they can't see what's right in front of them. But anyway, so that was a dog shit game. I know you can't say it on the regular show, but fuck that. Fuck this team. Fuck that performance. fuck everybody on this team right now for collapsing like that. That is just.
It's fair. I think that's fair.
I'm trying to remain as calm as I can, but that is just. You said it. It's unacceptable. There's no other way to put it. No other way to put it. You had the game in the bag, and you're just like, you know what? I don't feel like beating my biggest rival. I don't feel like it. I would rather go start my vacation early. It's pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. The worst performance of a second half that I think I've ever seen any team outside of maybe the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl against. And
I don't remember the exact stat, but yeah, it was like the biggest collapse since then, which is awful because that is like a running joke to this day. You say that score to a Falcons fan and it still resonates. They know that score inside and out. Interestingly enough, for those of you that don't know, Matt LaFleur was on that staff. He was the quarterback's coach for Atlanta. That also collapsed. Not saying it's his fault in both cases, but it was Shanahan was the offensive guy. Shanahan also no Super Bowls. Just throwing that out there. I mean, McVay has some. So, or one. We'll see if he gets another one here. I hope so, because they're playing the frickin' Bears. But, yeah, I don't know. By the way, McVay, the only real charismatic guy of all of them, of like the four guys. You got one guy that's like weird. I wouldn't say charismatic. And then you've got Shanahan and LaFleur that are both just like the I'm trying to think of words that wouldn't be offensive. They are, let's just say robotic. Let's leave it at that.
The Patriots, like that, it's that level. It's that level of just disgusting collapse, maybe worse. But I gotta say, Ryan, I am gonna stick around this offseason. But in lieu of that, I do need to talk to you. First of all, what happened with the live stream? I became a patron specifically to go to the live stream, and then nothing happened on my end, and I kept messaging in the group trying to get somebody to figure out like why am I not seeing anything? Why am I not hearing anything? So I don't know what that was about, but my biggest critique is I didn't like that you started playing into the happy-go-lucky sunshine people this year. I think you were a little bit too naive for me this year, and I couldn't even finish some episodes after games that we lost because of that positivity. It was too much positivity when we needed some negativity. And usually you're the realist guy, and that's the whole reason that I listen to you. But that was a big critique that I have this year, and I'm sorry. I'm still going to be a fan. I don't care for it. I don't care for it. I don't like feeding into those people because I think that they're morons. And I don't like listening to them because they get my hopes up because
3 minutes, gotcha. Yeah, we had already talked about this, obviously. I don't know what happened. I know at one point, like, I couldn't see anything on my end. And I'm like, oh, what the heck happened? And I reached out to the comment section, and they're like, no, you're good. You're good. Like, everything's working. And everybody was like, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. So I was like, all right, then I just won't touch it because I don't need to see or hear myself. That's not a big deal. But if you guys can see it, then we're good. So maybe it didn't work for some people, and they didn't chime in. I never saw you in the comment section, so I don't know what was going on your end. Again, this is kind of a new thing. Maybe Patreon's a little glitchy or something. It wasn't Patreon for the streaming thing. That was on my end, I think. The freaking software is being stupid. I think. I don't know. But yeah, I never saw anybody in the comment section say it wasn't working. So I don't know what happened, and I apologize, but we will be doing more streams, so it's not like you joined in vain. If you're interested, we'll be doing the Bears stream and some draft stuff. I'm pretty sure you're a draft guy, but I can't remember. As far as positivity, I can't. I'm trying to think as you're talking. I'm like, what did I say a lot of the time? I don't know. Probably depends. There's a lot of different things throughout. Well, look, all I can say is I'm trying to be realistic, and realistic cuts both ways. Negative fans don't like it, and positive fans don't like it. I'm sure there were just as many negative fans that were pissed off at me. To be fair, to your point, I think looking back on the season now, as I do sort of a post-mortem or whatever you want to call it. You've probably already heard me say, I mean, this team, when you look at what we were last year and the fact of what we did this year, it feels like a massive drop-off. What we are without, Micah Parsons, all the different things, when you look at it, I'm getting the impression this was a terrible football team. So it does feel like there was something underlying everything that I missed. On top of that, again, not knowing specifically, I'm sure generally you're talking about, but there were also times when I was deliberately optimistic, just for the sake of being optimistic. I think if I'm forced to lean one way or the other, I'm going to choose to be optimistic as opposed to pessimistic, which I'm sure pisses off the more pessimistic people. But no, I again, and I'm sitting here, as somebody that supported LaFleur, now saying I was wrong. Not even saying I was wrong. I'm saying that I am on the other side, that it's probably the best decision to move on from Matt LaFleur. And again, hopefully you're hearing and appreciating some of the thoughts that I'm having about, something is wrong, like on a larger scale, because this should have been a much more successful season, especially when we had a more healthy team. We when you look at the individual pieces, how unbelievably good Micah Parsons was, but the defense was how really impressive Golden and Watson and Reed and Tucker, and I know we lost all these guys at different times, at various times, and shockingly good your quarterback is, and how incredibly good your running back is, and all the different pieces, and it's like we were kind of You know what I mean? Like I also think they kind of gave us the impression that they were better than that at times. Obviously, the start of the season, beating the Lions felt good until you realize the Lions were not as good as they were last year. So there were some illusions in there. But I think a lot of it too. I had, and again, I'm sure it pissed you off, but I'm just sticking to what the statistics say, and the statistics were relatively flattering throughout the season, aside from down the stretch. Again, I don't know specifically when or what you're talking about, but again, looking back, there is definitely a feeling of like something is really off here.
Okay. Anyway, I just don't like it. I don't like listening to those people. I'm so tired of them being like, oh, it's okay to have these, there's a lot of positives after that game. There's a lot of positives. That's all I fucking hear. That's all I fucking hear when you people open your dick traps. And it's so fucking tiring. It's so fucking tiring because when you don't critique the team, then you get podium performances like the ones that we saw where they're just like, oh, we just gotta look at the tape. Because they think it's fine. Because they don't see any consequences. Nobody ever gets angry. Nobody ever gets fucking angry at them. They don't deal with angry fans. I'm sure they deal with some angry fans, but they should deal with more. And owners, if you have those owners pieces of paper, you should be in those owners meetings and you should be yelling. You should be saying, why does this keep happening? Why? I want an answer. Is it Matt LaFleur? I don't think it's Brian Gutekunst. I don't even think it's Matt LaFleur. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Why do we keep collapsing in the playoffs? It's bewildering to me why this always happens, and in such spectacular form. It's not even just like, man, we fought hard.
Right.
We were winning. We were winning the fucking game by a lot, and we collapsed again. So again, I'm sorry, Ryan. I don't normally like to call in with critiques. But maybe next season, just a little bit more on the realistic side. I'm not saying don't be positive, but I didn't like that you fed into the sunshine and rainbows crowd a little bit more this season. Kind of made me angry, and it's really burning me up inside, and I had to get it out. So anyway, I will be here for the draft, though. I'm hoping that the Patreon group still works. I'm still going to be a patron. I know it took me a while, but I know you're doing this full time now, and I want to see the the draft content because I'm ready for the draft and I'm going to be calling in with my guys to look out for. So anyway, go Pack, go. I guess we'll get over this loss eventually.
Well, the good news for you, and a lot can change from now to then. I'm sure they'll find a way to try to deceive all of us. But the good news is, as I go through it and as I see how bad things are and unacceptable, and I think all of us took a hard turn after that game because, first of all, that was the fifth loss in a row, right? Which in and of itself is shocking. And I think a lot of people, even some of the people that would be more on the sunshine and rainbows, like I think this, that, or the other, even down the stretch. I even said, look, we're not winning the. It was really just about beat the Bears and then lose to the Seahawks. It was kind of, and maybe that's why a lot of people aren't as upset as in previous years. But I don't know if I would verbalize that on the podcast necessarily, but I kind of hinted at it. But anyways, next year, as we continue to go through this, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of negative and a lot of uncovering certain things that are not very good, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny going into next year because there has to be. You know what I mean? The problem is there's nothing they can really do in a short period of time that can be impressive based on what the problems are. You come out and blow somebody out in week one, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to cheer, that looked great. But there's always going to be this element of, but that's not the issue. The issue is you can do this in spurts, but then you fall off. So I'm happy you won. I need you to not suddenly become dog crap. And that doesn't mean you don't lose any games. That doesn't mean you don't have whatever. Everybody's kind of got a little bit of up and down stuff. But this nonsense, and even in previous years, what was the thing? Well, they suck at the beginning of the year and then they get hot toward the end of the year until you get to the playoffs and then there's another nosedive. There's this weird bump from week 10 to 16 or something. Stupid. So it's going to be a season-long, you're on probation kind of a feel to it. Not that it matters that, what we say, because, again, most of us would have moved on from Matt LaFleur, and it seems as though that's not going to happen. Gutekunst, I think that's 100%. I don't think they would have let John Eric Sullivan walk if the plan was to even possibly move on from Gutekunst. There would have been a thing for him to be like, well, just give me a minute here, bro. Again, not saying I want to, but I'm guessing that's going to be the case. So, the bottom line is the team made a bet that most of us felt was wrong. Fine, prove me wrong. Matt LaFleur is the guy that can do it. He can get this team not just good, because the team is good, right? The team is good. I believe the team is good. I believe we've assembled a pile of people that have a lot of talent. And I believe that when these guys play at their best, they are elite. And I believe that you have the capability of demonstrating that to us occasionally. I want to see it, period. I want to see this team be just a good football team, like other good football teams that just go through the season beating the crap out of people because they're just better than you, right? And fluky things do happen occasionally. Fine, right? You can't get to 13 wins without frickin', 5 losses or whatever it is. 4 losses. And again, there's no form of acceptable loss. It's if you lose to bad teams and it's, how could you lose to bad teams? If you lose to good teams and it's, you can beat everybody but the good team. I get that, right? I get it. Fine. You can have a couple losses mixed in. I get that. But you need to be a good team. And I need to believe that you are a good team. And I need to see a team that is passionate, that plays through adversity. They play just as well in bad weather as they do in good weather. They play when people get hurt. They play when people are healthy. They just continue to play at a high level because they're psychotic, crazy people that are very good at football. And they look at the people across from them and they say, we're bigger than you, we're faster than you, we're stronger than you, and we also care more than you. We're more intense than you. We're more violent than you. And by the way, we know how to do our job. There's no constant breakdowns in communication. There's no touchdowns because, somebody blew a coverage and Valentine's looking over at the safety, who's looking over at Keyshawn, who's looking over at the linebacker, and they're all staring at each other. By the way, playing an entire season, year 2 under Hafley in the postseason. We got 2 full seasons under our belt, and I still got guys looking around going, wait, what was I supposed to do? Wait, what? No, none of that. We're all very well versed in this defense. We're all Hafley might be gone, but we'll see how that goes. We know what to do. That's the expectation. And it's not going to be solved in a day, right? The best we can do is that was awesome. I'm excited. Well done. Now do it next time. And the time after that, and the time after that, and the time after that. If not, you failed the test. Because again, the test isn't, can you make them look up to their potential sometime, while also allowing for them to look like the most incompetent pile of garbage in the history of the world? No, that's not allowed. And that's the other thing. If you lose, can you lose competitively? You know what I mean? We lost because some guy got hurt, and, there was some fluky thing where the ball got tipped in the air, and it got picked off for a pick six, and we lose by 2 points, whatever. It was a competitive thing, but boy, the ball just, bounced the wrong direction all day long. It was an unlucky loss. We'll get them next time. And you know what? We do get them next time. We come back and we look like the same team, playing a freaking good game against a good team and coming out on top. Again, if you want to make the bet on LaFleur, fine. But understand you will be under scrutiny for that decision. I'm already sold on his play calling, so I don't give a damn. Oh, look how good that offense looks. Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Good job. Why did the special teams collapse? Why did the defense play with no heart? Well, but I mean, look at those plays. I get that. I'm asking about his head coaching ability, not his offensive coordinator ability. So, again, a lot can change between now and then. Who knows? But I'm just telling you, as of right now, based on where I'm at, based on how this finished, based on the trajectory of the team, which is an arrow pointing straight down, despite the talent on the team, as far as I'm concerned, going up like a freaking rocket. We've got the best quarterback play we've had probably since 2021, possibly 2020. We've got one of the best defensive football players in the entire NFL. I understand the last 5 games we didn't, but even up to that point, whoop-de-frickin-do. We're like a 500 team with that guy on our team and an elite quarterback. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. How's that, Nate? I'm not lying just to appease you. I'm just telling you that's where I'm at, and that's going to be the standard for next year. Because it's the nice plays are nice. It's great. But we need to see a football team. Football team. Not good plays. Football team. Take a break, we'll be right back.
Going on, Joe Modified Fighter. How y'all doing?
What's up?
So after a cool, calm down realization of what happened, I don't believe we should fire LaFleur. He didn't miss the field goals. Did control some of the offense, and them, not coming out as strong, but we had backups center. We had the backup center in, I'm sorry. So that really kind of messed us up a lot. And, but, the thing that really got me upset was the timeout. Like, you called the timeout, and then you still got to delay a game. It's crazy. Like, that could have helped us not have to rush. And so it was some things he did wrong, but ultimately, again, we make the playoffs every year but one, I think, since he was here. And regardless if it's 7 seed or not. And he's just a great offensive line. And you can kind of tell if the coach is good based on how many people would want him. If he was fired, he'd be like one of the number one candidates for coaching. It's not like he's, Brian Cox last year from the Patriots or something, get fired and nobody wants. Something like that. So, it might benefit us, these 2 reasons of try to find a positive in it, that we get a higher draft pick instead of we're picking at 20 instead of 25. I know we don't got the first round pick, but second round, so that should be 5 spots higher. at a minimum, and we save some money on paying LaFleur because you're not doing a lot in the playoffs, so you can't actually be the highest paid coach or whatever. But I definitely think the next 3-4 years, if we don't win it all, then he got to go. So I would love to be 3-4 years older, and we just have to redo everything. So, but if you have another collapse like this with a healthy team, I would probably get rid of him immediately and not even honor the contract. So, but I'll give him a pass just based on injuries and everything. But he needs to get rid of the special team coach. And we gotta stop this all fake, all gas, no break saying that we got, because they don't play like that. They play like the Steven at 55. We go from 0 to 55 very fast. Like yeah. Then he's like, all right guys, drop it down to 50, drop it down to 45. We all right. And then our cars just zoom right past us. That's kind of how he plays. So I really hope he stops saying that daggone saying because he's not honoring it. But either way, hopefully he learns. Go Packers.
Yeah, again, I think that's entirely fake. I don't think that's the way that he coaches. And again, it's not even necessarily. I mean, I do think it's wrong. It's not even necessarily to say that it's wrong. It's just to say that I don't think that actually is his philosophy. I think his philosophy is to just try to come out with a win, and I think he believes that he wants to. He shifts into preserve the win mode, and again, I disagree with that because the NFL today is too fast. It's too fast. You can't preserve a win from halftime. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're up by, geez, I mean, what is even the record? Like, we're losing games with 2 minutes left down by like 10. Like, there's almost no point. Like, if you have the ball and there's 2 minutes left and you're up by 2 scores, maybe you can shift into preserve it mode. Probably should like run the ball, I guess. But I mean, unless we're talking about that, you have no choice but to just keep playing football. And there's also an additional level to that because the other team is going to be playing like a cornered animal. And that's what the Bears did. They came out and they played psychotic football. They're like, we're going to blitz every down. We're going to chuck it. You have to adapt to that. You have to understand that. So, you come out and just being like, okay, let's do what we're doing. Let's run the blah, blah, blah. And they're playing psycho mode football. You got to be able to at least match that energy. And it was just like they got punched in the mouth and were like, what is going on? And couldn't recover for 2 full quarters and lost the game. So I don't know, man. The biggest issue here is that it's not a question of should we fire LaFleur. It's a question of should we extend LaFleur. And so, we're not going to have much of a choice. I mean, we can extend him and then fire him after, but obviously, financially, that's not going to be great. Not that we care as fans. I mean, it's just their pocketbook. It's not against the salary cap or anything. But I don't know. It feels like they're going to be committing to something for a long time. And if the answer to the question is Matt doesn't have that ability to give them that little thing that they need, and he's just a play caller, I don't know, man. It just feels like we need a team that is so unbelievably perfect to be able to win, and it's just it gives us an unfair disadvantage. Our GM has to be better. It's unbelievable the amount of talent that we have acquired. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Hey, what's up, Ryan? It's RLS again. Hey, I think I'm going to try to make these calls a little bit shorter because I think I'll probably be calling it more frequently as I think through these. But this is the next day, and I'm thinking about this, and I think that if I was Ed Policy, the way this season ended, particularly this game, I would just tell Matt LaFleur we're going to pick up the extension talks during the season.
Sure.
And I would just let him feel the heat of the hot seat, right?
And that's honestly not a terrible thought. I mean, we're all assuming an extension is coming because Policy made the comment that He doesn't like letting guys go on that lame duck year. He doesn't like. Okay, but given the circumstances, if you're not willing to fire him, I think not signing him and letting him just ride out this year might be the better option, would be my assumption. And unless I'm missing something, that's probably an under-talked about aspect of the situation.
The media talk about him being on a hot seat. Let him understand where the organization's at. And if he can demonstrate, does he rise to the top or does he fall apart? Right? Because firing him now, as much as I would love to see some serious change in the Packers, and the Packers co-coaching staff, I mean, unless we're getting Kubiak, right, or like I just don't see us doing much better than where we're at now. So I don't think firing him is in the cards. On top of that, like if we don't get like a premier coach or someone that comes in and does well, like Ben Johnson or the coach in Jacksonville or the Patriots, we risk the chance of really squandering even more so than we have been the talent that we have on this team. So I think LaFleur is going to stay. But if I was at a policy, under no circumstances would I just pick up the extension talks this week. I would tell him and I would tell Goody, hey, look, you guys are going to have to go into this, this lame duck year, and we'll pick it up. November, we can start talking. Let's see how the season starts playing out. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair with the way things went here. On top of that, I think there needs to be some serious culture change at Green Bay because you're right, and other people have talked about it, and I talked about it myself. There's something going on in our organization since our last Super Bowl where we just crash out. Now, I don't know if the Green Bay Packers collectively sold their souls to win in 2010. Like, they just like, look, now's the time, let's do it. And now we're paying that debt. I don't know. But there needs to be culture change. And the question that I have is, how do we do that if we're not, how do we do it right away if we're going to drag on LaFleur for at least one more year, right? I'm going to start a new call because I'm about to hit the 3-minute mark, but I just want to make this point.
Yeah, we'll go to that, but I want to point out we did it in 2009 too. I mean, the whole like postseason collapse thing is not, and I also think we need to kind of, not every loss is a collapse. 2009 was a collapse for sure, but it's not also a matter of, well, we didn't win the Super Bowl, so here's another failure thing or whatever. Not necessarily, but yeah, there is something that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I was saying, how do we do that? Create this, culture change if we're going to have most of the same coaching staff back. I don't know how to do that. But some ideas I had was maybe we bring in someone, like how a corporation brings in someone to improve, employee, the climate, office climate to improve things. Maybe we can bring in a consultant, an experienced coach that's maybe like, no longer actively coaching, someone to come in and not be like an intermediary between Goody and LaFleur, but someone that has enough authority that they can observe what's going on and give recommendations, or if not give recommendations, or maybe they do have a role. I just don't know what it would look like, but something needs to be done because I think LaFleur has demonstrated to us that where his strengths are and where his weaknesses are and where he has the ability to improve and where he doesn't. I think he's a great play caller. I do not think he's a good coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't think that he's good enough to take you to the promised land. And I think he's demonstrated that since he's been here. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers in the squad that we had in, was it 2020 and 2021? If you couldn't get it done then, right, and I'm not even talking about a Super Bowl championship, maybe just a Super Bowl appearance. If you couldn't get it done then, I don't believe you're going to get it done. Now we're rolling into year 8. LaFleur showed us who he is, and he showed us who he's not. So if we're going to drag him through this next year, which I think that we are, and I really hope that they hold these extension talks because he hasn't earned any extensions beyond this lame duck year that's coming up. they need to figure out something. And this extends beyond LaFleur. There's something going on at the Packers organization where players, staff, people just feel too comfortable. There's no like how McVay and other coaches, they fire people. Like, you don't get second chances. Maybe you'll get a second chance, but you don't get third, fourth, fifth chances. You don't perform, you get replaced. And that's how professional sports should be.
Right.
Coaching staff and players. This is high stakes, big business. People are making a lot of money. There's a lot of investments here. You need to break ties with people that don't perform. There's no friendship. There's no friends in this game, right? I work in corporate America. We cut bait. I don't care what you did for me last year. If you are a liability this year, you are gone. And there's no hard feelings about it. And we deal with the consequences and we pick it up and we keep moving. And the Green Bay Packers need that mentality, man. They need it. Nobody should be so comfortable that they can fail and give BS press conferences and come back and rinse.
He got cut off. Doesn't look like he called back. So I'll point out, because I agree with you, but let me point out the new theory that's floating around. And maybe it's true, I don't know, but I think it's one of those things too where like everybody's latching onto one data point and it's becoming everything. So let's just play with that theory for a little bit. The Darren Rizzi thing. Matt LaFleur said, I want Rizzi. The Packers said that's way too much money for a special teams coordinator, decided not to do it. He ended up having a good career. Now, granted, he is now a head coaching candidate, so I mean, he has long since moved on from that situation. But I guess you could parlay that into, is it possible? Because we talk about this with Mike McCarthy too. Like he will not fire his guys. It's all internal promotion. Never seems to let anybody go and get somebody else. Is it possible the Packers, when approached by the head coach saying, look, there's a guy out there I'd like to pursue X, Y, and Z, and the team for whatever reason is like, look, I don't know exactly what the discussion would be like, but essentially the answer is no. You've got an offensive coordinator, like you're good. And it's probably not just a Packers thing either, because part of the discussion around Harbaugh, and the claim is that it's not necessarily true, but the discussion about Harbaugh wasn't just I want this much money, but he said I want this much money for my assistants. In other words, I'm not joining your team unless you give me a large budget for assistants, because presumably all teams, Packers included, will say, okay, we're going to pay you this much, but I'm not going to pay you $1 billion and go get the most high-priced freaking offensive coordinator on the market and go get this, that, and the other thing. And that's probably where a lot of the internal hires come from is, even though there is no salary cap for coaches, teams do have a budget. They have a salary cap essentially, and it's internal. They have their own numbers of this is how much you can spend, and that's it. So it might be true that it's not all on LaFleur and McCarthy, for that matter, for not going out and hiring people. Maybe it is the team saying, no. You want to get somebody else, fine, but here's your budget. And at that point, it's like, well, what's the point? I'm not gonna find. In other words, my whole stance has always been you get the top guy no matter what. And maybe that's naive because the team would not pay for you to go out and just grab all the top guys all the time. With that said, however, our defense is stacked with all the top guys, our defensive coaching staff, right? The defensive coordinator that lost his job, and we're going to bring him in, and he's our defensive line coach. And another defensive coordinator lost his job, and we're going to bring him in to be our secondary coach. And, it's just... So I don't know if that's real, but I think that is a growing sentiment. And so I figure I'll at least mention that as a possible problem.
Hey, Ryan, JD, Music Man, how are you?
What's up, dude?
So, yeah, this is a day after the game. So, yeah, bitter disappointment, all that. Yeah, it sucks, but, I hate to say that I'm used to it by now, but I'm kind of getting used to it. So I guess I'm getting over it a little faster than normal, just because this is what happens. It really, really sucks that it had to happen against the damn Bears. Of all the teams, we had to play the damn Bears, and we had to lose to the damn Bears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of all the teams.
Right.
And I hate to say this, but I'm kind of joking, but if Aaron Rodgers was here and it was still peak Aaron Rodgers time, this kind of thing wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't let that happen. But again, I'm joking, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is 100 years old, and you know, it just doesn't work that way anymore. But I hate to say this, but I think with the Packers, maybe they just need to tear it down. You know, everybody hates hearing that. I hate saying it, but maybe that's what they need to do, is just rebuild. Because we've seen this now year after year after year after year after year with Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst and, you know, this whole crew. It's just been year after year after year of meltdown. Not just losing in the playoffs, but meltdown, embarrassment, that kind of thing. And, yeah, it needs to stop. It needs to change. And you know, so maybe it's just time to tear it all down. Maybe we need a new coach. Maybe we need a new GM. I don't know what we need, but something needs to happen. My 3 minutes are almost up. I'll call back.
Yeah, and you know, to that point, when you say tear down, it obviously seems terrifying, but it doesn't have to be. It's surgical. We're not getting rid of Jordan. We're not getting rid of Micah Parsons. We're not getting rid of all these key pieces. It's just we need to cut away certain things that are not working. And honestly, I'm not sure that that's not just the coach. You know, and again, I'll leave open the option that you can work around the coach, or that it's not him and that I'm wrong about it or whatever. But in my mind, that is kind of tear it down and rebuild it enough, because a new coach comes in with new philosophies and new, you know, it is a very big rebuild. But again, it's not as scary as it sounds, because we're not starting over with the roster. There's going to be some things for sure, like there are every year. There's going to be this year, even with the same regime. You know, we're going to have to make some decisions, and some guys are going to have to go, and you know, we're going to have to find new ways to fill those holes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and that's kind of why I support the coaching change at this point.
Hey, it's JD again. Just finishing my thought process, I guess. Like you, I don't know what the problem is. I can't pinpoint it. I don't know if anybody can pinpoint what the problem is. What I do know is that I don't see very many. I watch a lot of football. You know, I watch other teams, and especially during playoffs and all that. I don't see a whole lot of meltdowns occur like this.
Just want to pause for a second. The Dolphins are interviewing Anthony Campanile for their head coaching job. That guy, talk about he was a linebackers coach 2 years ago. Then he did such a good job as a Jaguars defensive coordinator. He's now getting head coaching looks. That guy, man, that sucks. We lost that guy. I'll tell you that.
Especially when you're the superior team, on paper and so forth. It's just, I don't understand why it happens. I don't understand. Is it a Wisconsin thing? Is that what's going on? Like, I don't know. Is there a hex on us? A curse? I I mean, I don't understand why the Packers have this insatiable ability. That's the wrong word, but this ability to just melt down
the right word.
every year. I don't understand why. But something needs to change. And, I don't know if firing LaFleur is the answer. I don't know if it's going to make things better. I don't know if it's going to make things worse.
Yeah.
I don't know if getting a new GM would make things better or worse. I don't know, but what I do know is what I saw on TV last night was a story of two different halves. The first half, this team was dominant. Packers were dominant. In the second half, it looked like they just went in on halftime, got into a huddle, and said, you know what, guys, I don't really feel like playing anymore.
Yeah.
This year.
Legitimately.
I would rather just, go on vacation, with my millions of dollars and, screw the playoffs, screw the championship, screw everything. I don't want to do this anymore. Because that's what it kind of looked like when they came back out in the second half. So, I got one more thought to share, and so I'll call back and then I'm done.
Yep, go for it.
All right, JD, again, last thought. The one positive thing that I'm going to take from this game, there were some positives. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some positives. Jordan played a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Jordan had a competent offensive line, I think we would have been just fine.
Right.
Yeah, I think if the offensive line tried just a little bit
Yep.
more than they did, we would have been fine. I think if McManus didn't Ray Finkel the football the entire time, we would have been fine. But again, if anything can happen badly, it will. But one positive I'll say is Matthew Golden looked really good in this game.
Yeah, he did.
That catch for that touchdown.
By the way, that becomes a non-negotiable next year. I think that this roster has been mismanaged. I've been trying to give everybody the benefit of the doubt on the Matthew Golden thing. I'm kind of over that too. Again, I don't know exactly what the issues are, this, that, or the other. I don't give a damn anymore. He needs to be a bigger part of the offense going into next year. And again, I'm not positive how good of a job our GM is doing. I will, like I said, at some point that'll be like a big review thing that I do. I will say this though, the coaching staff is doing him no favors. They are making him look a lot worse than he actually is. The way that they have mismanaged, I think now Golden, Morgan, and Belton at the very least is upsetting, to be to put it mildly.
That was incredible. That was one of the best plays I think I've seen all season.
That was real good.
So, and then that other catch Matthew Golden had on 4th and 10, was it? Whatever.
Yeah.
Another great catch. So we're seeing some great things from Matthew Golden.
And I think that can be a great, I think it was the 4th down. I'm not positive, but there was also a really good throw. And I think when you have this goes back to like Rodgers Devontae thing. And I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. They're not the same guys, all that. But in terms of like, you got a guy that can throw really well and a guy that can, get that little separation. He's got great hands. He can put it out there, puts his catches out in front of him and everything. Good feet. It can just be a really good combo between those two. And it should be. And it needs to be going into whatever it is that was off that caused them to not be the top this, that. I don't care if we got to package Dobbs up in a little box and send him somewhere else. I like Dobbs. That's fine. But if that's the reason Golden is not getting the ball, F that. Okay? I'm sorry. No way.
And so I'm excited about Golden. I think he's really going to come along. I think next year he's going to be a stud for us.
Yeah.
So that's a positive thing. Jordan is a positive thing. He played well. He played very well. Like I said, if Jordan had a better offensive line that just cared or tried just a little bit more, just a little bit more, they would have pulled this off.
Yep.
That goes for the last time we played the Bears too. So there are positives to take here away from this. Where the negative is, I don't know where you pin it at. But hopefully the Packers can figure something out, and hopefully we can look forward to that going into next season. Okay, see you later.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a real good football team and plenty of reason to get excited. I was just looking at Jacob Morley just posted, I think it's pretty well put. Who's replacing Rashid? Jordan Morgan. Who's replacing Romeo? Matthew Golden. Who's replacing Quay? Hopper / McDuffie. Who's replacing Rashawn? Van Ness. Who's replacing Sean Ryan? Monk / draft pick. Elton Jenkins, Monk / draft pick. Enigbare, Baron Sorrell. You know what I mean? They're and that is a good thing because depending on how good those guys are, and in a lot of cases these are all upgrades. This just really goes to the drafting philosophy of why would you pick that when you need this? At some point you will understand. At some point, it's all going to make sense, and you go, man, I'm glad we did that. But there's a plan, and there are pieces, and there are players that are good. And how good, we don't really know, but there's a path here. And I think that's what's most frustrating about the team is that there's always a path. You can always look at it and go, man, we got the quarterback, we got the receiver, we got the pass rusher, we got all the pieces we need. Let's go do it. And then it's the end result. And again, I understand the injuries, and the injuries did suck, absolutely. And if we had Tucker, and if we had Micah, and if we had all those pieces, we beat the Bears, and we probably have a chance against Seattle. I understand that. But it's still frustrating, because we should have beat the Bears anyways. Like you said, we were dominating the freaking Bears. There's no reason to have lost that game. And so, again, it's like, okay, so if we were healthy, essentially, we just push back what happened a week. We dominate the Bears. We go to Seattle. We beat them in the first half, collapse in the second half, and lose. Right? That's the upgraded version of the team that we currently have. I don't know. I mean, we got a lot of time to kind of parse through this, think through this. I'll give myself the opportunity to keep. We have to see what happens. I feel, like I said, the longer this goes, the more I feel like everybody stays. And by everybody, I mean like the top people. Coach G, I'm sorry, I needed that stretch. I felt so good. Because they're working through the contract and all that stuff. There is an urgency here if you're looking for a new coach, and Harbaugh looks like he's going to lock up that Giants gig, so the Packers don't seem to be in any kind of a hurry with that situation. So it does seem that way. So we'll have more time to investigate. First of all, can we work around this with LaFleur and find a reason why it's not his fault? But even more so than that, okay, so we're not changing that. What are we changing, and how is that going to fix things? Hoping that we can answer the question. What is the problem and how do we fix it? I don't have an answer now, but I'm working on it, and any suggestions would be appreciated. I know a couple have come out, but it's not an easy one. And again, to some level, you always leave things up to chance, and obviously winning a Super Bowl is difficult and all that stuff, and I believe all that stuff. But like I said, something kind of broke in that Bears game, because that's not just a statistical thing. That's not just, heads, tails, all that stuff. This was, you lost for the second time in a row, by the way, to a team that is significantly worse than you, because you completely stopped playing football at the end of both of those games. That is a cancer. There is a disease. And we can't just be like, well, let's just continue and hope that disease doesn't continue to produce negative results. Let's hope that that disease doesn't spread and start to take over my freaking lungs and heart and liver. Let's just see no, get the damn thing out. You know what I mean? Like, if you need a transplant, get a transplant. Nah, let's just roll with it and hope that it doesn't continue to deteriorate our body, which, again, we have been deteriorating over the years, I've noticed. And again, I don't think it's because our players are getting worse. As far as I can tell, this is one of the best rosters we've had in a very long time. Yes, the injuries, I get it. But even when we were healthy, there was a whole lot of, what the hell was that? You know, again, it brings me back to that, it was a Step Brothers clip where the dude ends up like farting in his office, and he's like, "Did you just fart?" And I tasted it or whatever. And he's like, "Now that I think about it, the suits are a little messed up." Like, in other words, now that I see the big picture, I'm realizing you guys aren't like cool and funny and like this is you guys are just freaking weird and crazy, and you need to get out of my office. That's kind of how I feel now, where it's like, okay, the Cleveland lost. Yeah, that sucks, but it happens. And, this and that, and that happened. And then you look at the last 5 games and the losses and the collapses in the final game, and then you kind of go back and look at those other ones, and you're like, you know what? Upon second, another look, given the context of apparently what we are, that now is more concerning to me. Because, sometimes stuff happens. But now it's looking more like less of a statistical anomaly and more of just the character of what we are. And that's a big freaking problem. So, anywho, I'm out of here. Appreciate all the callers. Thank you so much. Appreciate our new caller, Liz from upstate New York. Hope to hear from you again. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.